A big round of applause, please. Meenakshi Lekhi ma'am is the current Minister of State for External Affairs and Culture of India. She is a Member of Parliament and also a lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. Besides writing articles in journals, periodicals and newspapers on socio-political issues, she participates in various television shows on matters of national and international importance to create awareness amongst the public for very integral issues. It's an absolute privilege and an honor having her here with us. Another round of applause, please.
Good morning, Dr. Reddy, Yakult's MD, Mr. Amanul Hassan, and Ranganathji, Dr. Ishi Khosla, Dr. Sibyl, Dr. Mahajan, ladies and gentlemen. Today is not the right day to say what good health I possess. My throat is packed, but considering the awful lifestyle I lead, I must show off that I still maintain a very, very good health. Working for 16 to 18 hours a day on regular basis with no weekends, I can only credit that lifestyles can be managed very easily if we understand a couple of things about ourselves, and each body is different from the other. So I would say that the way Ayurveda works and the way Ayurveda was understood earlier as compared to now is what has led to so much of misery in the world. Ayurveda was considered voodoo, while voodoo was considered science. And that is what was the distinction, and I think that's what needs to be bridged. All the ancient food systems that we have, or the body types we have, if we understood it right from the beginning, whole lot of things would change and would have changed in our respective lives. I have been through it. I'm sure whole lot of us would have been through it. And the alteration and changes like Mr. Ranganath explained to us, I would also explain a few things. When you're crossing 50 and you're little in the senior category, a whole lot of body changes happen. Before that, there is very little realization. So I must say, before 2014, I've always kept very, very busy, more stressed than normal all my life. But 2014 just changed it all. And 2014, the change was, I was little less than 50, it was about 48. And certain bodily changes happen with that time frame, along with the stress levels, because I had just kind of won elections and things. So what elections can do and what post-election stress can do is unimaginable even for people who have overworked all their lives. And that's what happened with me. So aches and pains and a whole lot of lifestyle disorders. So I was eating my dinner at midnight and I was not eating for hours on, completely irregular lifestyle. From there, the things kept dipping down till say 2-3 years ago, post 2019, my children only walked up to me and they said, "Mom, you have your Prime Minister for your example. Why are you not following those footsteps? If you want to work longer, you need to look after yourself. And this can't just go on." And my son fixed my appointment with Ishi. I've known Ishi for a very long time, but I never consulted her for my own fears. But finally, my children fixed the appointment and they called her up, and then I was kind of forced to go and see her. When I forced to meet her and the conversation we had, I virtually understood everything she said. If I'm not mistaken, I can take that credit of understanding. So whatever discussion we had, and it was a bit of an informal conversation, along with certain blood types and blood work which we got done. And the understanding post that what was developed is that we need to understand our body's function. We need to understand how each food impacts us, how gut is relevant for all of us, which at times we end up messing out. And all, again, Yakult is there. Nothing against Yakult. I think they're doing a fabulous job in bringing good microbiome to our system. But the understanding is that most of the time, our elders and the ancient people ate fermented food. You call it kimchi, you call it onion salad, you call it vinaigrette dressing, you call it chach, you call it kanji. Kanji, both the northern way and the southern way, that you put the rice overnight and then you consume it in the morning. Idli, fermented food in terms of appams and everything else. These were all foods so some level of understanding existed with our people that microbiome needs to be upgraded, updated, and we need to develop a system which can take care of a happy microbiome, and certain foods add to that and certain foods kill that. And then balancing of Agni within the system, that on one side you're trying to get the microbiome working, on the other side you have to reinvigorate Agni within your system. And the Agni is, of course, Jatar Agni, which is the fire where while eating food, why we should not drink cold water while you're eating a meal, and several other types of Agni which make you run, which make you work, which keep your brain working. So all these energy forms which keep us running need to be also understood. And I've experimented quite a bit with myself and I've understood. So, for example, I've started a fast from today. And then I know that my brain needs ketones. And I also understand that up to what level I can go, along with the fact that electrolyte imbalance can cause all kind of depletion. So I need to balance the electrolytes in the system. I'm not saying, please do not replicate me, I'm no doctor. I just keep working on myself, but please consult a doctor for your body type, for your kind of issues, what all needs to be done. I have had a hard learning and much later in life, but if you act in time, I think things can work out really fantastically well. And in addition to all these types, I think what one needs to understand, why cleaning up the system becomes important. We can call it detoxification, call it by any name, but certain rest needs to be given to the gut as well. It's like overworked machine all the time. Why meals need to be controlled, why we don't, we feel that post sunset, your body gets sluggish, metabolism gets sluggish because sun is not there. And like we use the lenses, we use the glasses, photochromatic cells operate differently, and that's why plants also go to sleep. The body also goes into a different mode while sunlight, and all those with sleep disorders, the doctors will say, please switch off the lights, don't use blue lights, don't use yellow lights, to only put us away from, do not allow cells to awaken at that hour so that the body gets rested. With all this mechanism, adequate rest, good food, very good cycle, understanding the impact of oil on our system, understanding the microbiome, and understanding that each individual prakriti or nature is different from everybody else. We have a special DNA. Let's understand it. We have special thumbprints. And if we have special thumbprint, that means we are very special people individually. And individually, if we are very special people, what works for me need not work for others. What works for X need not work for Y. And that understanding, we all need to develop our own system, our own method. So I would say I never got into the area of, say, diabetes or those horrible things, but I could have reached that. I could have, if things went, if things were mismanaged. It's very simple. One can understand that if your HbA1c is borderline, if it's reaching 5.8, 5.9, it doesn't take much for it to become 6.2. And how important it is to bring down to 5.2 or still lower. And that is doable. So I have reached the stage of 5.8, not 6.2. And I've made from 5.8 to 5.2. I've not been able to bring it down, but 5.2 is what I have managed. With my lifestyle, I'm managing that. And I know I've been told, not by one person, but by all people, that your cortisol levels are too high. So you need to rest and you need to calm down. And I say, look, my kind of business, I just can't be calm. I can't allow my other Agni to go down so much that everybody else takes over, because there are enough reasons to keep it going. So, but the ideal most form, I know it'll come down like this only if I had rested more. So I understand that. But each one needs to understand their own physiology, their own mental strengths, and their own requirements, food requirements. In terms of food, I must say I have come to a conclusion in life that you really don't need a lot. Seriously, I've overeaten all my life. But my conclusion and decision in life is you really don't need a lot. It's all overrated. Food is overrated. Why? Because if you understand your sugar levels and you understand cravings and you understand timings, can I just show off a little? I live on 1 meal a day. It doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me. And why I'm saying this realization happens very late in life. It happened very late with me. I was 50 plus when this realization came in. But I feel if I had ordered my life earlier, in my 30s, in my 40s, when things were going wrong, I would be probably in perfect health, because that time I wasn't overweight, that time I was fine. All the overweight issues started in my 50s. So if I had balanced it earlier, the stage wouldn't have reached. And now to shed down is an impossibility. It just doesn't happen. So I keep looking at Ishi all the time. And I keep saying, yeah, I'm fine. I work a lot. I'm balancing. I'm doing okay. But my weight doesn't go. What do I do? She says, let it be. It's okay. You're doing fine. But those are the challenges. So I suggest all my young friends to learn a lesson from my mistakes. That earlier you learn to decipher your body types. Earlier you learn to decipher the kind of food which suits you, the kind of gut microbiome we need, the kind of energy levels we ought to have for doing the work that your profession or work requires, or the family, or the food types that are regulated. Or easier your life will be, and longer you will be able to work and sustain yourself. Coming to the food types, 1 meal a day is what I have discussed. But in addition to that, I must also say I'm off wheat and I'm off corn. Why? Because something happened and one realized a patch on the body came, and we tried to figure out why this patch, and allergy tests and this and that. It turned out that it can happen at any age. You don't need to be born with it, but a long misuse of your body, it can just come up at any point in time. It need not be of the order of a celiac disorder, but it can happen like a rash, like a, stubborn metabolism. It can be in any form. And the reason I'm going to discuss the scientific reason, all the food that we have been eating all these years, especially the wheat, because I don't think we are corn eaters. We eat sarson ka saag, makki ki roti only once or twice in a year, like in a 1 or 2 months in a year. So which is not the cause as much because we are eating it less. But the wheat which we are eating, and everybody tells you that rice has a higher glycemic index, so it's bad for you, whereas wheat has higher fiber and it is good, so start eating wheat. I don't want to name, but one American, very senior guy, was having a dinner at one place, and it was an official function. This guy came and sat next to me, and I ordered, like, the hotel knew my food preferences. So I said, gluten-free meal. So they all say, yeah, ma'am, we know it. This guy said, same as ma'am, same as her thali, I want the same food. So I looked at him and he said, you're also gluten-free? I said, yes. He said, I have celiac disorder. I said, no, I don't have that, but I just, as a preference, I don't eat. Look what we did. The guys who gave us Green Revolution, we gave them Nobel Prize. But this is the cost we pay. And now I'm coming to the scientific reason. Indians used to eat, and the ancient most food for us has been what the Prime Minister calls Shriyan, the millets. All the Indus Valley civilization, the granaries which we read in the schools in class 6th or 5th onwards, the granaries were full of millets, not wheat, not rice. Though rice is also an ancient meal, but it was mainly millets. Because millets grew of their own. They did not require cultivation and agriculture and things. Of course, with population growth, cultivation had to happen. And these millets is what humans learned to eat. So the microbiome, the genome, our genome, is used to their genome. And the genetic is not anti each other. So we digest the food better, it's long lasting and sustainable. So in favor of Shriyan, I'll say 3-4 things. One, it requires less water. So it's a sustainable agriculture. Second, it's low on glycemic index. So your sugar levels don't just fluctuate high and low, and so you're full for long. So if you've eaten 4 rotis of millet, probably you won't eat till 24 hours. Third, genetic mutations have not happened. So the ancient food form is what we continue to eat. Whereas in case of wheat during Green Revolution, this is the food what we used to eat before we were imperialistically taken over. So all the food habits also changed. The refined maida and bread and white bread and all became fashionable. This is not what Indians ate, by the way. This is part of impact of imperialism on our food habits and the kind of work, especially Calcutta and other places, the bakeries, the work which you did in the morning and there was nobody cooking. So all the white bread is an addition to what we used to eat earlier. On the scientific part, the wheat what our ancient ancestors ate was still better because that had 12 chromosomes. The wheat we are eating today has 24 chromosomes. So I call it COVID. You've genetically mutated, you brought a new thing. which you call wheat, but it is not wheat really, because any genetic mutation is a new being, it's a new organism. What happened during COVID? Some bit of tuberculosis DNA, some bit of some other DNA. So when you mix the DNAs, you get a new organism. Precisely what happened. So you were eating wheat with 12 chromosomes, which is now 24 chromosomes. Fusion of nuclei or whatever else. So it's scientifically a new thing. Looks like wheat, has higher yield, but I don't know what to call it, because it's like mixing two humans. Your genetic makeup will be double than what it is. So nuclei fusion probably, or sorghum with something else. I don't know what happened. But genetically it's a different food than the ancient wheat which our ancestors ate. So that's the scientific part of it. Without dwelling deep into it, or without getting into those nuances, I would say when PM's call for Shri Anna came, for me it was like I said, I was so thrilled. I said, look, somebody's talking. Somebody's making sense and is kind of turning it into a people's movement, Jan Bhagidari as he calls it, that normal people, common people on the street has to understand. And while our tribal brothers and sisters did not understand the so-called science of it, but that's what they were eating. Kodu, then kuttu, and ragi, and pearl millets, bajra, so many different types of millets is what was eaten and is being eaten. And those people are very, very fit and very healthy. So in terms of nutritional density, that's a better food to eat. Nutritional density is higher. It has greater sustainable effort because it's consuming less water and is resilient to climate change. The life cycle of millet, when the sowing of the seed to complete harvest and cultivation, it's done only in 2.5 months, as compared to wheat, which takes 4 months. So almost half lifetime, and you get the whole crop. So International Year of the Millet came out of this thought, and it was persisted with, and is making, in terms of food security also, it works well for everyone, except people need to maybe change the palate a little. Just a little practice will do wonders. I just feel many a times people are addicted to the sugars in other cereals. So when you start eating the sugar which is going into your gut and your tongue, it savors that without one understanding that it's the sugar which we enjoy. But if we go to the nutritional part, millets are far, far, far superior as compared to any other cereal or grain. I'm sorry to sort of keep coming back to myself, because that's my learning. If I have bored you, my apologies. But I thought best way to explain your own experience is something which one can sort of relate more, that look, it has worked for me. I'm not saying it'll work for you, but maybe some bit of experimenting will help. So not to say the medicines, the herbs, the food types, lifestyles do not have impact. All that is also needed in case of any kind of medical condition which one may have developed. I'm speaking just from personal experience with no, I wouldn't say there's no science behind it, but the science does not come from me, it comes from reading others. And by reading others is what I have tried to explain. I wish everyone a very good health. And in India, we have, and I often say it, I say, which country in the world can claim that the religion has science as part of it. So, Atharved's one Samhita is Charak Samhita. So, no religion in the world will have a scientific book which describes the plants, their roots, their shoots, their taxonomy, and their usages as part of your religion. But Atharved is that religion. Atharved is one Ved which has science as part of its existence. And thus, all that was done by our ancestors, the rishis and all, was basically science. It's just that we lost track of ourselves as a civilizational body, and thus everything Indian became useless and became voodoo for others who had to rule over us. And they became the more dominant voice, and because that became the dominant voice, the pride in our own heritage and culture went away, and we went on a different track and considered everything coming from the other places superior to what our own science had to teach. I think the modern science is now working towards establishing scientific principles, researching on gut health, researching on how gut is the second brain, how energy systems or energy channels within the body operate, how different types of Agni, what we call Agni, how they are, metabolism is what the new word is for new, because when I say our science, I'm talking of 5,000 plus years. So 200, 300, 400 years is new comparatively for us. So from our perspective, these are new concepts. But working on ancient concepts and making life still better for all of us, giving us deeper understanding of the scientific principles is what will help. I mean, one example which comes from reading about a description of Krishna Deva Rai. So Krishna Deva Rai was the king in Hampi and probably one of the greatest kingdom in southern India and last one to exist after Chola dynasty, Krishna Deva Rai. So I was reading somewhere about Krishna Deva Rai. And they said, and the descriptions by in Veda, say he drinks, I don't know how many, I don't know the measure, but almost a bottle of sesame oil, and then exercises physically in the morning. And that's what makes him strong. So I tried to analyze that. I said, so basically this guy is making his body undergo ketosis without knowing that's what he's doing, and also detoxifying his system. And a whole lot of people will say, oh, if you drink or eat oil or desi ghee for that matter, your cholesterol is going to go up. But the science is the opposite. I think let the doctors do that conversation. I will not do that conversation. I don't want people to get sick, and explain it scientifically and talk better with scientific evidence, and also how the body metabolism, sugar versus fat, etc., operate. But I leave it to the doctors to do that conversation. I'll only do the social bit of it. But with these words, may everyone get good health. May we all work towards good health so that we can work longer and last longer to do the good things, and keep our brains in order, because good health takes us away from various negative things, greed, and because eating impacts the thinking as well, and it's what you eat is what you think as well. So eat well so that we are able to think well, work well, and help India become a developed nation by 2047, and away from this mindset of slavery. All that is possible only if we know exactly how our society operated in the past and what all changes we need to make it work better. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.